Assalamu alaikum. Today my topic is friction, and I would like to ask some questions that you must have noticed this thing that when you roll a ball, after a while the ball stops. In another example, you must have observed that when you stop cycling, when you stop pedaling your bicycle, what happens? The cycle stops after some time. There must be something which is stopping the moving objects, because the force is not only that can stop that can move an object. The force is also this property that it can start moving the objects. So it can stop the objects, it can start the object. Start, for stopping, for starting, uh, the force is required. So we are discussing about one force which stops the moving things, okay? And the name of that force is the force of friction. So the definition is a force that opposes motion. A force, which force? The force of friction or the frictional force. The force which opposes motion is known as the force of friction. So this was the definition, okay? And friction is a force that comes into action as soon as the body is pushed or pulled over a surface. It means that whenever you start moving one object over another object, force of friction comes into play. It plays its role. Now, when does friction occur? This is shown by this figure. You can see the purple block is placed on the green block, and the pushing force is applied on this purple block. You are pushing this purple block in the forward direction, and obviously the motion is shown with the black arrow that is also in the forward direction. But what's the role of force of friction here? The force of friction is pushing the object in the backward direction. So, what do we conclude here? Friction occurs when two surfaces are in contact. Just in the figure, this purple and the green block are in contact with each other. This is the pushing force in the forward direction, and the friction is in the backward direction. Okay, so again, in this example, the same thing is told. The same thing, I want to make it more clear, that box wants to move in this direction. Okay, this big block, this box wants to move in this direction. Why? Because the force is applied in this direction. But the role of friction, as this is the force by definition which opposes motion. This force of friction is trying to push that box in the opposite direction. So the conclusion is friction is a force that moves in an opposite direction to movement. Okay? Yes. Now the direction of motion or the attempted motion is shown. In this example, there is a big block that is made up of wood, and that is placed over some surface, which in fact is looking very smooth. But if you observe it under a microscope, if the contact points are observed under a microscope, then you can see this is the magnified view of this part, which is shown by the smaller circle. If the magnified view is showing that there are ups and downs on the surface of box, and there are ups and downs, or the pits and bumps, or in other words, you can say projections. These are the projections and depressions. The projections are the upper parts and depressions are the lower part. Or in simple words, I'm saying ups and downs of both the objects which are interlocked with each other, and these interlocked points are not allowing these things to, this block to move. and these contact points are known as cold welds. What are cold welds? Cold welds are the points when the object is placed over the surface of another object. Now here some of the examples of frictional forces or the force of friction are given. Friction occurs whenever two surfaces rub against each other, just like you start rubbing both palms of your hands. The palms of your hands are rubbed with each other. Friction is produced and heat energy is produced. Okay. So when there is a friction, there is a force of friction, heat energy is the outcome. Okay. The cycle is going in the forward direction and the friction is pushing in it the backward direction. In this figure, the force of friction is in the backward direction and direction of motion is in the forward direction. In all these simple examples, this point is to be, I have tried to make it clear that the direction of motion and force of friction are opposite to each other. Okay. Now, what causes friction? As I have told you previously that even the very smooth looking thing is not smooth if you magnify the surface. If you view it under a microscope, you can see that every surface, even if it is looking very smooth, it has some ups and downs. Again, these ups and downs are shown in this figure. They got interlocked with each other and this point is known as cold welt. Now this is the sliding friction. Sliding friction is when you slide one object over the other object. You are sliding one object over the other object. Okay. Again, this is the example of sliding friction. One boy is sliding on a slide. This is the example of sliding friction. And you can see in sliding friction, whole part of the body, most part of the body is in contact with the other surface on which the body is being slided. Now this is the other type of friction which is known as rolling friction. In this you can see a wheel is being rolled on some other surface, and in rolling friction only one point of the body is in contact with the other body. So rolling friction is 100 times less than the sliding friction. In sliding friction, more efforts are required, and in rolling friction, less effort or less force is required. You can take the example of if you, as I was telling you that rolling friction is 100 times less than the sliding friction, because in rolling only one part of the body is in contact with the other body and cold welds are not ruptured. Okay. The rolling friction as the wheel rolls without rupturing the cold welds, and threading of the wheel, the pattern which is made on the wheel, it improves the road grip on the wet roads as the road is slippery. While going to northern areas or hilly areas where there are more rains, the roads are wet or most of the time, then what's the role of this threading on the wheel? This threading or the pattern, special pattern on the wheel improves the road grip, and as friction is also known as gripping force, so it prevents the wheel or the cars to slip on the road and therefore avoiding the accidents. Therefore, it is advised that whenever you are going in the hilly areas, in the northern areas, the wheels of your car should be in a perfect condition. Then there is a topic braking and skidding. The wheel of a moving vehicle has two velocity components. One is the motion of wheel along the road. The wheels are moving on the road. And the second one is rotation of wheels about their axis. The wheel is moving around its axis. Okay, to move a vehicle on the road as well as to stop a moving car, force of friction is required. Okay, and this force of friction is provided by the wheels and by the ground, as the wheels and ground are in touch with each other. Okay, there is a gripping force, but if the pattern of the wheel is vanished, that is faded, or you can see you can say if the wheels are worn out, they are not of good quality, then what will happen, the wheel will slip. Okay, and if the vehicle will start slipping, it will not move at the slippery road. So the to make the wheels roll on the ground on the road, the force of friction between the tire and road must be enough that stop the tire from slipping. Okay, in the same way, to stop a car quickly, a large force of friction is required, which is present between the tire and the road. If the brakes are applied too strongly, the wheels of the car will lock up and they will stop turning, and the car could skip because it's having a large momentum, a large mass, and a large velocity, and a large momentum, you can say. If you apply the brakes at once, what will happen? The car can lose its directional control, and the result will be a very serious accident. Okay, and in order to reduce the chance of skidding, it is advisable that not to apply the brakes too hard, uh, and also it's unsafe if the driver is having the vehicle which is having worn out tires. Okay, now our next topic would be the factors that affect friction, and the remaining part of the topic, which is friction. Okay, so this is enough for this time.